Why keep putting that water again? Let him know.
Joy.
What was the question?
What I put in the water.
Courage.
I was like, I haven't had any of that water.
You didn't need any of
You
this
just
water.
share the goods. Share the goods.
Danielson!
Evan, right?
Yes, sir.
What antivirus do you use on your computer?
Oh boy, that's really complicated actually. So I used to use AVG because it was free, but AVG actually, they've got their own kind of spyware that they install on your computer.
Oh yeah.
What I'm using now is Malwarebytes.
Okay.
What is like $12 for like a lifetime subscription or something. It has changed my life. I highly recommend it.
We have gleaned their resources.
The first reader, what restaurant did you where it is in New York and what?
So I won't be there for much longer, so in the event that you're coming to see me, you've got like a month.
No.
Okay. Right, if you want the baby pigs, they'll still be doing that. The restaurants are called the Breslin and the John Dory Oyster Bar, and they are in the Ace Hotel on 29th and Broadway in Manhattan. They're a spectacle to behold. So.
I used to live down in Delancey.
Oh, no shit. Delancey's changed a lot. It's fancy now. What's that?
What are you going to do now that you leave the restaurant?
Work at another restaurant. I mean, you know, I write
It's
posts.
like having your mom. What
Let's
are you going to do now that you're putting?
Well, you know, the worst part is that, like, I sell wine, and my parents are like, what do you mean you sell wine? And I'm like, well, there's a market for it. And they're like, what do you mean you sell wine? I'm like, well, it's better than saying, like, I'm mom and dad, I'm still writing poems, you know? So.
What's your favorite part of New York?
Right now, the fucking jackhammers. I don't know. I love Brooklyn a lot. And it's a really vibrant place right now, and there's a lot of changes happening. So Manhattan is kind of a curse in some ways.
Do they have a lot of like readings?
After this, there are only lessons about poetry and art.
Cookies and art. Okay. Paul. So I'm actually trying to translate some poems out of Spanish, and just because there are no translations, how much Spanish words should I leave in? And if I want to get published for my translation. But then, and the second part of the question is, what is it you think that keeps poetry from achieving any kind of, recognition in the United States versus in Mexico or anywhere else, I guess?
Man, those are
You've got 2 minutes.
I love yourself out there.
Well, I don't do much translation at all. In fact, the first and last time I translated my own work was I submitted to some, I thought it was this, I don't even remember, it was called American Dissident or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's a cool journal, it sounds really hardcore and whatever. I was still kind of in my poser lefty, I'm still a lefty at heart, but anyway, I submitted work in English, and the guy, and I write primarily in English, I don't write in Spanish hardly at all, and the guy sent me a letter back, and he's like, well, if you can translate these, or if you can send me some Spanish stuff, then I would love to have it. And I was like, fuck, man, I don't write in Spanish. I don't know what I can do. But I was desperate to get some work out there, so I translated my poem, and sent them to him, I never heard back, but man, I don't feel qualified to answer your question, but I know a lot of people that I can put you in touch with who do very amazing. The first guy that comes to mind immediately is Daniel Borzutsky. He's based in Chicago. He's amazing, and I don't know, he's a really sweet, humble, and amazing guy, so you should talk to him. Why poetry? I don't know. I just think people... Because when you read poetry, I think you have to participate in creating meaning with the poem, and we're lazy. We Americans tend to be lazy, so it's just fucking easier to sit down and watch TV. I'd rather watch TV, so it's kind of a chore maybe to read.
Is that a stereotype?
Is that a stereotype? Absolutely, yeah. Of course.
Why don't you write in Spanish?
I'm third generation, born and raised in the Chicago area, so I kind of, that language is, when my grandparents were growing up, as opposed to how welcoming we are to immigrants now, we were a lot less welcoming back then, and so the whole vibe was to blend in, don't stick out, assimilate, and so the language was lost, a lot of it, so my Spanish is okay, but I don't feel competent enough to really write it. So.
As a follow-up, since we're sort of on the subject, it sounded like there's some discomfort, I guess, with the local race of plays and poetry publishing in particular, I guess. What can you say more about that?
Discomfort.
Well, I thought you were sort of dealing with it humorously, right? But it sounded like it probably came from some discomfort or criticism of that.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe just growing up and being othered because of my last name and because of the way I looked when I was, a kid. But knowing that I was just as, not to give you a stock answer, but just as like American as the next kid. And so that created a lot of angst and resentment and a lot of, anger that I had to deal with. I wasn't really angry like a teenager because of all that. And so naturally I became a poet. And, yeah, I guess I just try to deal with it in a way that's humorous, but I don't know, self-deprecating as well. Because I'm just as full of shit as the next person, so it gets too easy to just point my finger all the time at people.
So,
I'd just like to make a comment. I'd just like to make a comment.
Phil's questions don't end with questions.
The thing of it is, I'm third generation American, but I'm Swedish, and I'm not performed very much my poetry or anything like that. I've been in too many art shows, but nobody's ever asked me if I wrote in Swedish or spoke in Swedish. So there is a little stereotype going on there, type of thing that you're up against there. So but
yeah, there's actually, I didn't even know, like when I was in grad school, there's a whole mess of youngish, just Latino American poets who write exclusively in English, and we're out there. There's actually a lot more than I even realized. So, but slowly you're like this one guy just won the Yale Prize. What do you call it? Yale Younger, where it was the first Latino to ever win it. He writes almost exclusively in English. At least his book is, the manuscript is in English. So we're out there.
For Amanda, what are some of the contemporary writers that you're reading right now, and why are you drawn to them?
It's really funny that you asked that because I'm struggling with it a lot. Largely because I don't find a lot of female writers that have any cojones at all to sample from the infomercial. And there are a couple male contemporary writers that I'm excited about. I've fallen in love with Anthony Madrid's sort of Ghazals. He's a Chicago poet too. I love Dembski's work a lot. I know I'm supposed to say that, but I love it a lot. Who else is writing right now that I really dig? Those are the two that jump to mind right off the bat. Oh, I just read, this is sort of like academic, but Bruce Smith's book, Devotions, got nominated for a prize this year. It is gorgeous. And like, I struggle a lot too with being okay with really liking beautiful lyric poetry. Because I feel like that, pretty white poetry, you know what I mean? I feel bad about liking it, but that book is really stunning and it's actually got some muscle behind it. But yeah, if anyone, I'm told I'm supposed to read Lara Glenholm. She's a contemporary female that I should be into. Yeah.
Phil, does this have a question mark at the end of it?
yeah, where did you learn to play the melodeon?
When I was like 7 or 8, my dad and I took a road trip to New York State to visit my grandparents on his side, because they lived in Port Jervis. That's right there. And while we were there, like the day before we left, my grandfather went into a drawer and he had this awesome study that just smelled of cigar smoke because he just smoked cigars in it, and he put together puzzles. He went into his study and he took out a little cardboard box, and it had a Hohner blues harp style harmonica. And he said, "I've never played this. I don't know how you're going to learn how to play it." And it wasn't. He said, "You are going to learn how to play it." And you didn't say no to my grandfather. So the whole road trip back to Wisconsin, I probably annoyed the hell out of my dad playing this little thing. And when the Sands go marching in and camped on races and all that stuff. And I was so pleased with it, I kind of fell in love with harmonicas. And I bought harmonicas for years, and I got harmonicas for presents for years, and I upgraded to chromatic harmonicas, which are the cool big guys with the buttons, so you have you can do whole scales, and you've got accidentals. And then sorry, this is a really long story. In high school, I took 4 years of French, and in one of the 4 years of French, they try to convince you that French is spoken worldwide, and it is, but they want you to know that it's a useful language. So they're like, hey, it's spoken in America as well, in Louisiana. Here's the music of Louisiana. And that's where I was introduced to Zydeco and Cajun music, and I fell in love with that immediately. And I bought some CDs, and I'd play along with them on my harmonica. But the king of Cajun and Zydeco music is the Cajun accordion. And so I saved up all my money for a while, and I got my very first little Hohner Cajun accordion, and was shocked and pleased to find that they play very similarly to a harmonica. A melodeon is a diatonic button accordion, and it works the same way a harmonica does, in as much as you get a different note if you push and pull. Like a harmonica, you get a different note if you blow or suck. So I picked one up. That was probably senior year of high school, and I've been playing ever since. And I should be way better for as long as I've been playing. But again, like I prefaced before, I don't know anything about music. So there you have it. It all started with my grandfather.
Basically.
Yeah.
You actually self-taught.
Yeah. Which I think says a lot. That's the defense for what you heard tonight, isn't it?
Well, that's a good excuse for your pornography then.
I didn't have anybody to teach me any better.
Before we derail any further, anyone else? Going once, going twice. Thanks so much, Charles.